the lunch rush. Hey, welcome in. It's Trent Condon. Glad to have you aboard with us here as we talk the world of sports, taking you up until 1 o'clock here this afternoon. Live, local, and ready to go as we're coming to you live on ESPN Radio in Des Moines, 1350 AM and 102.1 on the FM dial, along with streaming on the Rush Radio Network. And see so many people already in here. Couldn't be more excited. Well, yes, it has been a long month away from the microphone here on the radio airwaves and streaming everywhere as well. Happy to be back here after the day's concluded just up the street. And now here we are with Des Moines Media Group and excited to be a part of that along with Rush Radio. We'll talk a little bit about that here throughout the time, but just couldn't be more excited to be back and be in front of the microphone. So this is a little bit different, doing things differently now with the Rush Radio Network. Traditional. If you're listening on radio right now, it's simple. It's easy. You flip on the dial, just like you've done for years and years and years. But now we have the video component to things also. And that part of it, you can find us on YouTube. That's the simplest way on YouTube. Just search The Rush. It'll pop up there. What Travis Justice and Ross Peterson have created. Now, 17 months as they have built this thing up and doing it in a different way, right? Without the radio signals, the way that they built things up. They're a little more free and loose. I can't be quite as open with the language here because I still have the radio entity along with it, but have that part of it. Search YouTube, The Rush. You can find us that way each and every day. We'll also be with you on the radio side each and every day here on 102.1 FM, ESPN Des Moines. You got that component. You can also listen on a couple of different ways. You can use the TuneIn app. That is something that is absolutely huge. The TuneIn app is something that is really, really cool and something that I absolutely love, the ability to have that part of it as well. So you got that component that is also happening on the TuneIn app. By the way, if you're a college football fan, and if you're listening, I'm going to guess that you are, it has one of my favorite features. Is out and about, running kids to softball, running kids to soccer, whatever it is. They have basically the Red Zone channel for college football, and they jump around to all the different broadcasts that are out there with Learfield and the different entities. And you can hear kind of the biggest moments of college football and do it on audio form. So the TuneIn app, make sure you download that. And if you're an Android user, you can also download the Rush app that way, and you can listen live each and every day. So a lot of different ways to listen. Let's talk about sports. We're going to get into that here today. A lot of different topics that I want to tackle. Coming up, though, on the guest list, we're going to kick things off here at about 20 after the hour. It is a Monday. And if you've listened to my show in the past, if you've heard me and Ken Miller throughout the years, we have had Matt Snyder on for a better part of a decade now. And we've talked with Matt about Major League Baseball. He's a national writer over at CBSSports.com. He's also a Cubs fan, and that obviously helps here in this market. So he'll be kicking things off here coming up at about 12:20. We will talk with him about everything going on in Major League Baseball, from Tariq Skubal, gross, making his way to the Dodgers, and maybe putting a nail in the coffin of some kind of labor stoppage that is going to be happening next season. We have that component and everything else that's been going on. For Kevin Gausman going to the Cubs, what else is going to be done here on MLB trade deadline day? We'll break things down coming up at 11:20 with Matt Snyder. Then at 11:40, we'll talk some Hawkeyes with Eliot Clough, part of HawkeyeInsider.com. Eliot will join us as we will break down the latest, including a huge story that is developing, and that is the class of 2022, the graduating high school class of 2022. That was a group that was granted by a judge another year of eligibility. And if you remember back from an Iowa perspective, Tavion Banks, when his season came to a close, you might remember the press release, the Instagram post that he put up saying that he was entering the portal. A lot of people are kind of scratching their heads about that. Well, if he gets another year of eligibility, what does that mean? Well, what it means is what I think we've all kind of read between the lines, that Tavion Banks will not be in Iowa City this season if this came down as it does. Now, there's still court cases that are going to be involved. There's still plenty of that. Also, that is going to eventually figure out if these guys are going to get another year of eligibility. And it not just impacts basketball, football as well. We'll talk about that and more coming up with Eliot Clough in the end of the hour. 12 o'clock hour, we're going to kick it off with a recap of things, kind of a run through. And that's what I'm going to do basically each and every day. We're going to recap the big story of the day, whatever's happening. It might be a little bit of what we talk about at the top of the show, but recap, and we're going to talk a lot of Cy-Hawk to kick off the 12 o'clock hour because, well, it's been a month away. And there's been plenty that has happened. Big 10 and Big 12 football media days in the books. Getting ready for Iowa and Iowa State football media days right around the corner. We'll talk about that to kick off the hour. Then talk Cyclones specifically. Bill Seals will join us at about 12:20. It is August, and if you've been a longtime listener to me and Ken in the day, you know that means Mitch Holthus daily. That's right. We have the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs each and every day, 7-8 minutes. We'll kind of hit a topic of the day. And the big one, well, it's a question everybody's asking, and we got the sound for you. It will be with Patrick Mahomes. That's right, the quarterback, where he is on his recovery. Mitch Holthus will talk about that. We got a little audio clip as well from Mitch Holthus. That's coming up at 12:40. And then we conclude the show the way that I have done now for the better part of 22 years. My picks of the day, presented by Circa Sports. Each and every day, I will give you what I'm betting on for the day, for the better, more times than not for the worse. I am not a professional. I do not make money betting on sports. I just love doing it. I love talking about sports wagering, and that will be at the end of the show coming up here at about 12:50. So that's what's coming up today here on the program. We got you covered, and if you're somebody that is new to the program, thank you for joining us here today. Love to have the local element on the radio side. And if you're somebody that has been following Travis and Ross throughout the last 17 months, you know that they do their show a little different than me. I am the hardcore sports guy. I am the guy that likes to dig into the weeds. I'm going to break games down. I'm going to talk to a lot of different people with a lot of different opinions. That's what you're going to get from me. Travis and Ross, they do things a little more fun, a little more enjoyable. They color outside the lines a little bit more than I do. This is going to be your hardcore sports talk. I'll talk about my family. I'll talk about what's going on. But for the most part, you're looking for 2 hours of strictly sports talk. That's what you're going to get here. On top of it, don't worry. Oh, do we just have to listen to Condon drone on and on and on? No, don't worry, because we got somebody else also with me. It's my radio producer. He is Drew Rinehart. He's with me here in the studio. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see Drew as well. We'll figure out exactly the camera angle that works out best. But Drew, thank you, first of all, for help welcoming here to ESPN Des Moines. Been really fun here over the last month plus talking with you guys. And it started even before I got my walking papers. We had our first conversation here. You're going to be with me, and you're going to be the second voice. Drew, Welcome to the show.
Thank you. We're so glad to have you here. So
the lunch rush. I got to get it. It's not really coming off my tongue very well, as we found out at the top of the show. I mean, talk about a kickoff. I can't even say the name of my show. That's where you're going to get from time to time here on the lunch rush. Great comments coming in. We'll talk about those a little bit later on and hit everything. But I do want to start with what I talked about earlier when we mentioned that Eliot Clough is going to join us, and kind of the biggest story, I think, of the day here on the local front. We're going to hit tons of Hawkeyes and Cyclones. That's what it is. And the baseline for what we do, certainly here in the state of Iowa and definitely in central Iowa, is the Cy-Hawk rivalry. And we're going to talk Hawkeyes and Cyclones every single day. It doesn't matter if it is May and there's nothing going on. It doesn't matter if we're deep into football, basketball season. You know we're going to be hitting it there. We're going to talk Hawkeyes and Cyclones each and every day. We'll move off. We'll talk plenty of baseball. I'm a big baseball fan. I'm a Minnesota Twins fan, and somehow, some way, that team that is frankly not very good is hanging around in playoff contention. It helps that the American League is terrible. We'll talk a lot of Cubs here. By the way, if you are new to 102.1 ESPN Des Moines, you also will be happy to know, if you're a Cubs fan, all the games broadcast right here throughout the course of the season, so you can catch all the Cubs games as well right here. We'll talk, of course, the NFL. I'm a Bears fan. We'll talk the regional teams, Chiefs, Vikings, Packers, Bears. We'll hit that a lot, and all the national stories that are out there. But don't worry, it's not going to be all LeBron. It's not going to be all Cowboys. We are going to localize things here as much as possible on the lunch rush. I think I got it right that time. Drew, welcome aboard. First things first, let's get to know you a little bit.
All right.
So I know you've been here in the role here at ESPN Des Moines for a while.
Yep.
First of all, what's your job? What do you do here?
So I'm the PD for ESPN Des Moines. I also do Hope 940, get all the iCubs games on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
We put on Drake football, basketball here on ESPN, and then I do the traffic side too. So I get all the commercials ready for the next day, and all the good stuff, all the inner workings.
I think for the most part, people know where my allegiances lie. I grew up a Hawkeye fan. Yep. I'll tell the stories a lot. You'll probably roll your eyes from time to time. Tell about the stories of the importance of the Hawkeyes. My parents were not big sports fans. My dad was, he went to like the Indy 500 every once in a while. He liked cars. He was a trucker. Mm-hmm. That was him. He was not a big sports guy. A ball and stick guy, that was not him by any means. My mom was probably a little bit more. My love of sport, though, came from my grandpas. And my grandpa Dean and my grandpa Jack, they were the ones that my love of sports goes. And there's a great picture with my grandpa Dean, me laying on his belly. He's got 2 TVs. This is back in probably like 84. 2 TVs out there. He's got both the NFL games. Then he's got the radio next to that with the playoff baseball game on. and I'm sitting on his belly, and he's reading me the Big Peach, which was the Des Moines Register. Back in the day, the sports page was actually peach colored. That's why it was called the Big Peach.
Okay.
It was something that was iconic, very different than anything else. That's really where my love, my grandpa Jack, he was a Vikings fan. That's where my Bears fandom actually came from. Okay. I was watching a game with him. Growing up in North Iowa, everybody's Minnesota sports, everything. I mean, that's for the most part what it is. For him, though, it was, he got angry. He got angry a lot at the television. Used choice words. Again, trucking family, but I knew about those words very early in my life. He was just yelling at the TV. Here's this Bears team. They got this big fat guy in the fridge. Walter Payton was awesome. I'm like, I want to root for that. I don't want to root for the Vikings. I want to root for this team that's winning. That's where my fandom went. My mom bought me a sweatshirt the next day, and that's where the fandom went. So had all that also. It was absolutely incredible what we had, and absolutely loved what that was. So that's exactly what it is, and the way that it's set up. Again, my fandom. How about you? Your fandom? I know we got another Hawkeye, and Cyclone fans, I know you're rolling your eyes already. We got another Hawkeye in the building.
I am a Hawks fan. My dad went to Iowa, so started off there. My grandparents actually went there too. That's kind of how they met. And then my sisters go there currently, so got a lot of family in Iowa City. But other than Hawks, I love to say it. I know nobody's going to be happy with me right now. I am a Dodger fan.
Oh, God.
I've been a Dodger fan since 2010.
You're a little younger. So if you were somebody that was like my age, in your mid-40s, and you started rooting for the Dodgers at that point, I'd really have to give it to you. But you are younger, so I guess that's okay.
Andre Ethier got me into the team. So.
Andre Ethier, all right.
Yep, that was my favorite player growing up. So I've been a Dodger fan ever since. And outside of that, I'm a Saints fan. It's been struggle a little bit recently, but hopefully we're on the come up this year. And then I am a Celtics fan.
A Celtics fan.
I just at that time I did kind of just bandwagon that one back in the day, but stuck with them ever since. So
that's awesome. Well, Drew, appreciate everything that you're doing and gonna be helping us out here. And yes, Drew will be kind of our second voice from time to time, jumping in, and if he's got a disagreement with me, he can definitely jump on that part as well. Drew Rinehart, my radio producer here, and the second voice that you're going to hear on the Lunch Rush here on 1350 KRNT, ESPN Des Moines 102.1, and the Rush Radio Network. Mention the big topic of the day and something that I want to talk about, and it is the ability. After the 5-for-5 rule went in effect here about a month and a half ago, after the NCAA handed down that now all college athletes will get, very simply, 5 years of eligibility. There are no red shirts anymore. There are no medical red shirts. You're not going to be applying for a 6th year, and 7th year, and 8th year of eligibility. That is over. Those days are gone, which is a great thing. Absolutely, I think, a good thing. It's something that I've been yelling about for the better part of a decade. Let's simplify this. Let's make it as simple as possible. 5 years of eligibility. Boom. Simple, easy. Don't have to worry about that anymore. We had over the last, 7 years, something like that, the rule where you can play 4 games in college football, yet still maintain your redshirt status. You could also then play in the bowl games. So you could play, 5 of 13 games, which was ridiculous. But on the other side, on basketball, they didn't have anything like that. They had a little bit on wrestling. I think you could wrestle up to 4 matches if memory serves. It was all over the place. It was weird. This makes things very simple. However, the guys that just graduated, the guys that just completed their 4th year of eligibility, of course, what did they do? They went to court. And that's what you do with the NCAA anymore, is you just take them to court, and you know that is something that you're going to do. And when you take them to court, you're normally going to win. And that's something that definitely happened in that case. So there was a small group of players up in Ohio that first put something in the works. And then the latest one was a court case out of Colorado, which basically granted everybody that graduated high school in the class of 2022, guys that just completed their 4th year of eligibility, an extra year has been granted by the judge. Now, this is going to lead to more litigation. This is going to lead to a headache. But as we are weeks away from the start of college seasons, you have the basketball side. And we talked about Tavion Banks, a guy like Tamin Lipsey, if he's not able to make the team for the Pacers. What does that mean for guys like that? Taking it a step further, the guys that did not have that opportunity, did not have an ability to even go and play in the summer league in the NBA. Those guys probably are going to have an opportunity to go out there. But you go from the Tamin Lipseys and the Tavion Banks and what's going to happen with those guys, and you take it a step further, and the one that I'm really incredibly interested in is the football guys. And what happens on that front with the guys, and I think specifically right now of a guy like Aaron Graves. So we know the Hawkeyes, and the biggest question mark I think, with the Hawkeyes this year is going to be what this is going to look like for them on the defensive tackle spot. I think it's a huge question mark, something that we have not seen from Iowa very often recently. This has been a problem, and because of that, well, they're very green there. They're very inexperienced, and outside of Bryce Hawthorne, nobody has a resume. Let's say Aaron Graves here in the next couple of weeks gets cut. His days with the Ravens are over. And the University of Iowa and the football program says, you know what? He's been working out. We know what kind of player he can be. Is it he signed with an agent? It's over? Does that change? Does it lead to more litigation? That is the great unknown. I still think the likelihood is we're not going to see that. This is not going to be something that is going to be out there. That is going to be a huge component that we're going to have to deal with. However, when you go through and you take a look at this, that is something that is going to be one to definitely keep an eye on. We're keeping an eye on the MLB trade deadline. It is today. Push things back from the traditional July 31st deadline, now here today on August 3rd as we kick off the new show. What great timing on that front. Coming up next, Matt Snyder from CBSSports.com. We're going to talk some Cubs with him. We'll talk about the trade deadline and Tariq Skubal to the Dodgers. That's right. That's all coming up next here. Stay right here. This is The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports on the Rush Radio Network and 102.1 ESPN Des Moines.
Get in on the action with the world's largest sports book right at your fingertips. Circa Sports Iowa is where the pros play. Enjoy the highest limits, lowest takeouts, and competitive betting menus. Download, fund, and bet from anywhere in Iowa. Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com. Must be over 21 and present in Iowa to bet. Have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
We are ready. We've waited for this one for a long time. The anticipation, the excitement, the intensity. The teams are on the field looking to build on last week's success.
Construction doesn't need a play-by-play call, but it does need a team. Like the team at Graphite Construction Group. From concept to planning to building completion, our team is with you every step of the way.
And the beam is up.
Mitch, this isn't a field goal.
You mean like it's a touchdown? Graphite Construction Group.
Graphite Construction Group. We build it better.
So, Russ, what do you do in the off-season?
Mitch, we don't have an off-season.
Family owned since 1970, Kemker's True Value in Rental helps you buy what you want and rent what you need. Get to work on that to-do list with help from Kemker's True Value in Rental. Kemker's has all your hardware needs, grills for that family barbecue, and a one-stop shop for all your lawn and garden needs. Plus, their rental catalog is perfect for do-it-yourselfers. Make it Kemker's True Value in Rental. Find out what they can do for you at KemkersTrueValue.com. That's KemkersTrueValue.com.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kelsey Edwards with Fuller Associates Family Dentistry. I'd like to invite you to join our practice. If you're looking for a new dentist, we're accepting new patients. I'd love to create the smile you deserve in a judgment-free zone. We have 2 convenient locations to choose from in Des Moines and Altoona and offer extended evening hours. As a third-generation dentist, I've had the pleasure of following in my grandfather's footsteps and now working alongside Dr. Stephen Fuller. You can find Fuller Associates Family Dentistry on Facebook or Instagram or by calling us at 515-266-3437.
Before, during, or after the game, your football headquarters for this year is Bevy's in West Des Moines. Bevy's after a football Friday night, Bevy's for college Saturday, and Bevy's for all the pro football action. A great brunch menu to get you ready for your football watching on the weekend. And it doesn't matter your team, you know you'll be covered at Bevy's because they love football just like you. Bevy's Tavern, 1350th Street in West Des Moines. Bevy's is your football headquarters. Joined by Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care. It's football season. Concussions always a big topic.
This year, 2 to 3 million sports-related concussions will occur, and about half of those go unreported. 2 out of every 10 high school students will suffer a concussion. The most important part is following through with your doctor, but the recommendations are different than they used to be. At Elite Eye Care, we can diagnose and treat the post-concussion visual symptoms that typically exist.
That's Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care, with locations in Waukee, 2 in Ankeny, and the newest location in Norwalk for Elite Eye Care.
We want you at Sonorama. We make all the signs, you just make the commas. Stress-free life out in the Bahamas. If you need a life without any drama, it's just Sonorama. Over over 700 locations. We got owners spanning all across the nations. Imagine what we do with the next generation. Everything here, just a big celebration. 1986 when we started it all. Looking at us now, I wouldn't change it at all. We don't want to make this too complex. Hit us in the contacts, let's set up a contract. We want you at Sinorama.
Sinorama of Urbandale, 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale. Online, sinorama.com/IA-Urbandale. I think you all know by now that the Chicken Coop is one of my favorite places to go for a cold one and great food. And their new made-from-scratch menu has me going back even more. Their signature wings with 12 different sauces, the Nashville Hot Chicken Sandwich, and you gotta try the new Big B chopped cheese. And the Chicken Coop has 3 locations: Urbandale, West Des Moines, and Ankeny. Wherever you are in the metro, the Chicken Coop has you covered.
Back to the biggest stories in sports. The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon on 102.1 FM and 1350 ESPN Des Moines.
Welcome back once again. It's the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon here on ESPN Des Moines, 102.1 FM, and streaming everywhere on the Rush Radio Network. Glad to have you aboard with us here today on our debut. Kicking things off, I got the name of the show right here. Segment number 2 is going to go a little bit better. It's going to go better as well because we got our man, Matt Snyder. It is a Monday. It is baseball season. And Matt, after a month away from the radio airwaves, glad to have you aboard. Have missed our conversations on Monday. How are things been going for you?
Yeah, great. Glad to be back on with you, and congrats on the gig.
Thank you very much. Excited for it, and a lot of different platforms now in this new environment, the world that we consume products. Definitely excited about that. Well, the trade deadline is here today. Great timing on August 3rd. Push back a little bit, and with it, Matt, the big story obviously is Tarik Skubal. The haul that the Tigers got in return, a lot of head scratching about that component, and there's some big picture things that obviously might come out of that as well. Let's just start though with the trade. The rich get richer, the Dodgers get Skubal, and it just leaves the other 29 teams just saying, what else can we do? This behemoth just keeps getting more and more, and we definitely have that now with Skubal.
Yeah, well, I tell you what some of them could have done is outbid them. I mean, I know that there's so much narrative to it's no fair. The Dodgers are just definitely going to win the World Series. They overpay for everybody, blah, 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 blah. But if let's just focus on the Brewers for a second. You're the Brewers. You've made the playoffs 7 of the last 8 years. You've won the NL Central 4 of the last 5 years, but you've never been to the World Series as an NL team. They've never won the World Series. They're one of 5 teams who's never won it. They actually have the best record in baseball right now. The Brewers have a half-game lead over the Dodgers for the best record. If there was ever any time for them to quit kicking the can down the street and worrying about the future, it is right now. You go out and you get Tarik Skubal, you pair him with Jacob Mizorowski, then you have the 2 best pitchers in the series against the Dodgers. They could probably have taken them down. And a lot of people that we've talked to across the game said the Dodgers return what they gave to the Tigers was pretty light given compared to expectations. So my question is, where were you Brewers? Where were you Rays? Where were you Cubs? Where were you White Sox? What's going on here? This wasn't free agency where the Dodgers just outbid everybody. And they do have a strong farm system, but good grief, Brewers. That's the thing that drove me the most crazy about this.
The Brewers, it felt like if there was ever an opportunity to go all in, this would be it. Opportunities like this are rare. And in today's environment of Major League Baseball, with what they have, the way that they're built, that's a head-scratching one. We'll get to the Cubs a little bit later on, and that's definitely a conversation that is out there also. They get out and get Gausman. We'll get to that momentarily. I want to go big picture, though. And I don't know. I think, Matt, you know, I like to toy around with conspiracy theories. I like to pull out the tinfoil hat from time to time. This one, though, I saw this one on social media. I'm like, I think there could be some validity where, in a way, this is a way for the other 29 owners to just say, we can't compete and we need a lockout. We need this to happen in order for everybody else to be able to lift themselves up to the level of the Dodgers. And that's the reason that they were able to get him at what feels like a reduced price. It's a little bit crazy. I get that. But Is the potential, maybe the question is this, Matt, does the potential now of this lead to an ability for the other owners to say, you know what, this shows exactly why we have to completely change the financial structure of Major League Baseball?
There definitely is something to this being a win for the owners at large, in that you saw the mass outcry on social media about how there's going to be no baseball next year and we need a salary cap. He's making $10 million and change the rest of the year. This wasn't about money. It was a prospect package. And if there really was, Brewers ownership goes to the front office and says, don't pull the trigger on this, that would be really, really, really bad, really sad. But I have to say, it's not the most outlandish conspiracy theory of all time, because it is such a big win for the Major League Baseball owners' narrative, which is we need a salary cap because this is no fair. Piling on when the best pitcher of baseball gets traded to the two-time defending champions who have the top payroll in baseball. If they win it again, that's another one for the owners. Yes, there is absolutely something behind that.
Want to jump next to the Cubs, go out, get Gausman, but didn't get Skubal. And I know that's where the ire is coming from at this point. Gausman up and down throughout the course of a season, a good solid veteran, and with the injuries that they sustained, at minimum, they needed something. And we'll see what they get out of some of the guys that are coming back and what that's going to look like. But that aside, let's start with the Skubal piece of this and the Cubs not going in, not giving the capital in terms of prospects and offering, I guess, what the Tigers were able to get in return from the Dodgers. Your thoughts on the Cubs' perspective of not getting him?
Yeah, I wanted an ace. Mm-hmm. If you look at the pieces there, Boyd, Imanaga, Edward Cabrera will be coming back from the injured list. Hopefully Ben Brown will be coming back from the injured list. There's depth. There will be depth eventually once they get healthier in that rotation. It just looks like a bunch of mid-rotation guys, and that's where I thought if you could go and add Skubal, now we're cooking. Now you say like Skubal, Boyd, Imanaga, Ben Brown, maybe if he comes back. That's a pretty stellar rotation. Instead, Gausman, I do think that a veteran pitcher going from a non-contender to a contender, he might get a little extra spring in his step, might be a little more motivated to prove himself down the stretch. He's a rental. He's hitting free agency after the year. But another factor is the Cubs defense is so much better than the Blue Jays defense. So there's a possibility that just by playing the defense that they play is going to naturally help Gausman improve from what he's done this year. He's still not an ace. It still looks like a rotation full of mid-rotation guys for the playoffs, but he's a good ad. He's a good ad, just not a great one.
So what else, as we approach the deadline, what else do you see on the front? Big names, anything else out there at this point in time that you think there's going to be movement here?
Well, apparently, it's since I already went down the gutless path, there's Adley Rutschman to the Red Sox rumors. The Orioles are 2.5 games out. What are we doing here? I mean, the Tigers, I complain so much about other teams not stepping up to outbid the Dodgers for Skubal, but what about the Tigers not keeping him? They're 2.5 out. It's incredible to me to see this type of just waving the white flag and quitting on your team when you're 2.5 games out of a playoff spot. But Adley Rutschman's out there. It looks like Taylor Ward just got traded to the Mariners. Joe Adell just got traded to the Guardians. There's a lot of stuff happening today, but in terms of the biggest names, like I kind of feel like Skubal is going to be the only real monster name that's going to be traded, and then the next rung down would be the Adley Rutschman, Kevin Gausman type deals. Freddie Peralta.
Freddie Peralta. And we're talking about guys that maybe are a number 4 on a playoff team, maybe a team that can make a run, to get deep into it.
It still matters.
It does, absolutely. And that's a component that is important. And getting to the end of the season, and as we've seen, not just with the Cubs, but across baseball, just over this last 5 years, the amount of injuries for pitchers is you also want to set yourself up for depth and understanding that the likelihood that your 5 starters are going to make it to the end is unrealistic. That's just where we are with pitching injuries. You also throw in, feels like everybody wants bullpen help, right? And my Twins went out, got AJ Minter. All right, at least it's a name, it's an arm. That bullpen still stinks, but still, all right, you're getting a name.
Something.
Everybody wants, though, those bullpen arms. Are there any high leverage guys, or is just, hey, we'll grab a guy, see if he sticks, get a veteran, hasn't been having a good year? Is that what we're likely to see here as it pertains to bullpen help for everybody in baseball?
Yeah, I'm inclined to say no, we're not going to see the huge name relievers because the Padres kind of climbed back into a position where it looks like they're going to be able to hang around, so probably aren't going to deal Mason Miller or Adrian Morejon as there had been rumors. And when the Red Sox got so ridiculously hot, that took Aroldis Chapman off the table. So the Mets might deal Luke Weaver. So maybe there's the big one because, it wasn't that long ago he was closer in the World Series for the Yankees. So, yeah, Luke Weaver could be a big one, but that's probably the extent of anybody that would be considered like a big name, high leverage, late inning guy.
Talking with Matt Snyder, CBS Sports MLB writer, as he joins us here. It is the Lunch Rush here with Trent Condon on 102.1 ESPN Des Moines, along with the Rush Radio Network, where you can find us streaming each and every day. Before we let you go, Matt, I've been away, and honestly, over this last month, I've kind of unplugged overall. Have not been the hardcore baseball watcher that I normally am at this time of year. So with that, I've flipped on a Cubs game from time to time, my Twins from time to time, but I have not been nearly as invested as I normally am. Let's talk about the Cubs and what you've seen here over this last month for this squad and a team that can be a contender. We know about the Dodgers, obviously the National League, and what the Brewers are. Just where you sit right now with the Cubs and what they've been over the last month plus.
Yeah, I think I've kind of given up on the division in my head. I think that helps me mentally, so I don't try to chase down. I'm not watching the Brewers win every single night, it feels like. So I think they're probably going to secure the top wild card in the National League, which means they'll host the wild card series at home, just like they did last year against the Padres. I think they could make some noise. It's gonna come down to how the rotation shapes together down the stretch and what kind of bullpen additions get made and how healthy the bullpen gets, because it's more banged up than the rotation. It's a team that could scare some of the big boys. This is a team that's looked as good as any in baseball in stretches this year, but then again, the downside is they've looked as bad as any team in baseball at different points as well. So it's one of those things where you just hope one of those hot streaks happens in the playoffs. But it's a great position player group. I saw a stat, it was like the middle of last week. If you broke it down by position players and pitchers, the Cubs were leading the majors in position player WAR, number one. In pitching WAR, they were in like the bottom five. So it's a great group of position players that they just need to get better pitching.
That would help. Absolutely. Finally, it's a selfish question for you, Matt. My Twins, I don't know how this team is hanging around, but here they are. They're a game back of the final wild card, a game back of the Guardians. Now it goes hand in hand with how terrible the American League is, and that definitely helps things out. But watching quite a bit, actually, the series over the weekend against the Mariners, that's a Mariners team that I really like. We know a team that was in the ALCS last year, so close to getting to a World Series for the first time of that organization, and they went toe-to-toe with them. Though they lost 2 out of 3, I thought they were right there. What is it about this Twins team? How have they been able to keep their head above water and actually have hope here as we're now in August?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I look at the mix on the roster, and it just doesn't seem like that good of a roster. Maybe it's some of the parts is better. It's one of those sum of the parts teams like we've seen from the Guardians so many times, where you just kind of look and scratch your head. Taj Bradley, Joe Ryan at the top of the rotation should be pretty good, but that's all they are, is just good. They're not having great years or anything like that. They're just pretty good. I got to give credit to Cody Clemens and the breakout season he's having. And it's just a roster full of guys who they're getting everything they can out of this group. Trevor Larnach, look, kudos to those guys. And you need Byron Buxton back. I feel like if they're going to make any noise at all, Buxton has to be one of the centerpieces. But, Ryan Jeffers, great offensive catcher. They have a bunch of pretty good players all over the place. And, I could not have been more wrong. I don't know if you remember how much we talked about in spring training, but I thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league.
Mm-hmm. I was right there with you. And here they are, a game out of a playoff spot. Matt Snyder.
And let me say this. Yeah. Let me say this. Kudos to them for going for it instead of selling, because there are so many gutless teams throwing in the towel 2.5 games out. Tigers trading the best pitcher in baseball when they're 2.5 games out. That is gutless. Kudos to the Twins for trying to go for it when they're in it.
I love that. And something that definitely can help out some Twins fans, because the love of the Pohlads doesn't go very far. You know that. Matt Snyder from CBS Sports. Matt, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you again next Monday.
Take care, man.
Matt Snyder, CBS Sports. A great follow on Twitter. You can find him at Matt Snyder CBS as he joins us here each and every Monday on The Lunch Rush. Coming back on the other side, time to talk some Cy-Hawk. We're going to talk Cyclones, Hawkeyes up first. Eliot Clough is going to join us from HawkeyeInsider.com. Tavion Banks, not going to be back in Iowa City. What does that mean? What do we read into that? And is there hope for some fifth-year guys to potentially come back for Iowa football? We'll talk about that and more. Recap Big Ten football media days as well with Eliot Clough as we continue. Stay right there. It's The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports on ESPN Des Moines 102.1 and the Rush Radio Network. The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. Trent Condon here for Circa Sports. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-BETS-OFF. If recent hail may have impacted your home, contact Wolf Roofing. Our Hague-certified inspectors provide free, honest assessments the Wolf way. And Wolf Roofing has been serving Central Iowa and the state of Iowa since 1993. If you're concerned about hail damage, reach out to Wolf Roofing. Free Hague-certified inspectors deliver accurate, insurance-trusted roof assessments you can rely on. Thorough, honest, the Wolf way. Check out Wolf Roofing online, wolfroofing.net. Trent Condon here, joined by Dr. Ethan Heisman from Elite Eye Care. Tell us a little bit about those back-to-school exams.
Back-to-school eye exams should always be part of the back-to-school process for the kids. 80% of what our kids learn, it's through vision. So it's very important that the kids, even if you feel like they see okay, get in for an eye exam, make sure that everything's good so we don't have any vision problems that are interfering with their learning.
And not just for the youngsters, everybody needs to take care of their eyes.
Absolutely. Health problems, not just eye health problems that can be detected through your annual eye exam.
That's Dr. Ethan Heisman, Elite Eye Care.
We don't want to make this too complex. Hit us in the contacts. Let's set up a contract. We want you at Sonorama. We make all the signs, you just make the commas. Stress-free life out in the Bahamas. If you need a life without any drama, it's just Sonorama. 30 years experience and we ain't gonna drift back. Building up a brand and we always keep it intact.
Sinorama of Urbandale. 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale. If you're thinking of incorporating or setting up an Iowa LLC, zoom right past LegalZoom and work with Rush Niggett, a Brick Gentry PC. He's set up an affordable online small business package that helps you decide whether to form a limited liability company, LLC, or a corporation. With Rush Niggett's help, it's easy to form your new small business. Rush Niggett, a business lawyer with Brick Gentry Law PC. Go to rushonbusiness.com. It's good to have Rush on your side. Before, during, or after the game, your football headquarters for this year is Bevy's in West Des Moines. Bevy's after a football Friday night, Bevy's for college Saturday, and Bevy's for all the pro football action. A great brunch menu to get you ready for your football watching on the weekend. And it doesn't matter your team, you know you'll be covered at Bevy's because they love football just like you. Bevy's Tavern, 1350th Street in West Des Moines. Bevy's is your football headquarters.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kelsey Edwards with Fuller Associates Family Dentistry. I'd like to invite you to join our practice. If you're looking for a new dentist or accepting new patients, I'd love to create the smile you deserve in a judgment-free zone. We have 2 convenient locations to choose from in Des Moines and Altoona and offer extended evening hours. As a third-generation dentist, I've had the pleasure of following in my grandfather's footsteps and now working alongside Dr. Stephen Fuller. You can find Fuller Associates Family Dentistry on Facebook or Instagram or by calling us at 515-266-3437.
At the Chicken Coop, we're starting from scratch.
That's right. We're dropping some new recipes along with your favorites, and they're all made from scratch.
Boneless wings and chicken tenders made from scratch when you order.
Get your spice on with our new Nashville hot chicken sandwich.
Or our new buffalo chicken sandwich.
Both made from scratch.
Don't forget our wings, made with 12 different sauces that are, you guessed it, made from scratch.
The Chicken Coop has the best chicken and is made from scratch in our kitchen.
Stop in or order online today.
Commercial break's over. Back to Trent Condon and the Lunch Rush on 102.1 FM and 1350 ESPN Des Moines.
Back with you on the kickoff show of the Lunch Rush. Glad to have you aboard with us on Trent Condon here on 102.1 ESPN Des Moines, along with the Rush Radio Network, where you can catch us streaming each and every day. Make sure you hit subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, as you can get each of our shows. The Morning Rush with Travis and Ross each and every morning from 6 until 8 o'clock a.m. Me 11 to 1 with the Lunch Rush, and then Beyond the Bench with Sean Roberts and Lucas Strain come your way from 4 until 6, all on the Rush Radio Network. And here live with my show, where you can catch us each and every day on ESPN Radio Des Moines. Let's talk some Hawkeyes. Eliot Clough joining us from HawkeyeInsider.com. Eliot, it's been a while, though. You were nice. You joined me on my podcast. By the way, Daily Hawkeye Podcast, Locked On Hawkeyes. You can also catch that as well. Eliot, good to talk to you again, and good to talk to you on the radio. How have been things going for you?
Good, Trent. Yeah, good to talk to you on the radio again. I got your text about hopping on, and more than happy to join you again. More than happy to get you back on the radio waves. But I'm actually fresh off my bachelor party this weekend.
Ooh.
Went to Columbia, Missouri. Went to a lake house with a few of my buddies, and I am feeling it today. I'll tell you that.
Yes, I can definitely understand that. Well, I got a Vegas trip coming up next week, so I know I'll be feeling it. Maybe when we talk early next week, you'll be hearing that in my voice just a little bit. So what did the bachelor party entail? Where'd you go?
So like I said, just went to Columbia, Missouri. Got a lake house down there with my buddies. We golfed a little bit. Kind of hung out. Didn't really do a ton. Like I said, the golfing was probably the biggest thing. I also haven't played all summer, so that was probably a poor choice for activity on my part, but we made it happen. Definitely got a hard time from my friends for how awful I played the first 18.
Understand that. I got golf coming up with a tournament with my buddies coming up this weekend, and yeah, I have only swung the sticks I think twice this year, and it has not gone very well. So it'll be ugly coming up on Saturdays. Apologies to my team. They'll have to carry me on that front. Well, the big story right now, and something I talked about at the top of the show today, Eliot, is the 5-for-5 rule that was put in place here a couple months ago. Knew it was probably eventually going to lead to that. Makes sense. 5 years of eligibility. Boom. Very simple. But now we have the guys that just graduated, the high school class of 2022, and there's been an injunction that has been put in there to give them another year of eligibility. That leads to the question, what about the guys that just graduated for Iowa? And specifically, I think the most conversation about Tavian Banks. Just fill us in a little bit, and after what you guys have reported over at Hawkeye Insider way back from when he announced he was declaring for the draft. We knew that likelihood wasn't going to happen, that he was going to be a draft pick, but also going into the transfer portal. I think we could read between the lines, if this came, and it did, that Tavian Banks was not going to be a Hawkeye.
Yeah, right after the tournament, I asked him about it, and he said, I want to be a Hawkeye. When he made that initial post about entering the transfer portal, he said he wanted to be a Hawkeye, and I think that was more so relating to the fact that, we weren't really sure what the roster was going to look like going into this offseason, and if Iowa would even have a spot for him. And if they did, if this, was something that was determined, say, in, I don't know, May, we might be having a different conversation about the possibility of Tavian Banks being a Hawkeye. But I think what this really came down to is Ben McCollum and his roster construction, because this is just like getting Tavian back. Obviously, you take it in a vacuum, but putting it together in terms of roster construction is just something that would have been difficult because there's already just a logjam with hybrids. You want to see the development. You want to see the continued development of a Cooper Koch, of a Tate Sage, and even the young guys like Ethan Harris and Jaden Kuhn. And that just would have been difficult with another year of Tavian Banks and having him on the roster. It would have been a logjam in terms of the fit. And it's unfortunate, of course. I mean, I'm sure all Iowa fans would have loved to get him back. But it's just a situation that I don't think would have made a ton of sense. I think there's somewhere out there where he'll find a spot and somebody will be very happy that they got Tavian Banks. But just like I said, just a situation of logistics more than anything, just making it not really work out the way maybe Iowa fans would have hoped.
And they don't beat Florida without Tavian Banks. They don't get to that Sweet 16 and really change the complexion of Iowa basketball and what it is and the eventual run to the Elite Eight. Without him, they don't beat the Gators. And he's a very good player, but I think you nailed it. these young guys, and you also have to just wonder, the guys that have been putting in the work here throughout the summer, and now we're going to go back and we're going to bring another guy in. It leads to too much. And you also know the importance of the culture building. And it's the culture word, I think, Eliot, sometimes gets thrown around too much as it pertains to sports. But for Iowa basketball, and specifically for Ben McCollum, it's not just lip service. That camaraderie, that culture that they're building, it is incredibly important for what he does.
Right, and it's not like Tavion would come in and be a locker room, destroyer type of guy after, having been what he was and been so important to that team, and Ben sifts that kind of stuff out right away before you even step on campus. This is just a situation of continuity, and having already built something, and Ben is very particular about how things go and how he wants to build things. So more of a reflection of that than it is of Tavion at all.
Let's jump over to football. Fresh off the Big Ten football media days last week over in Chicago. Kirk Ferentz, let's start right there. You've been covering now the Hawkeyes for a couple of years. You get to know his mannerisms, the way that he kind of is being in those press conferences. What kind of mood was he in when talking specifically about this team? Kirk, a guy that usually pretty down the middle, but he had some opinions. He had some thoughts. Just your takeaway of Kirk overall as he gets ready for year number 28.
Honestly, I thought it was pretty standard. Kirk, he doesn't speak definitively about basically anything at this point. The one thing he did speak maybe definitively about is which is kind of funny. It's a bit of an oxymoron, but definitively about the uncertainty around special teams, just because it's a complete overhaul in that group, from punter, kicker, special teams coordinator, returners. That was the big question. And of course, the offensive line is going to be a bright spot. And you look at a Zach Lutmer, and it's very easy to be optimistic when it comes to just another guy, another small town guy that's from the state that has elevated his game and has a serious chance of being an All-American this year. That kind of thing, and other than that, Kirk's like, well, we'll see. And he is a big we'll see guy when it comes to Big Ten media days, when it comes to even Iowa's media days coming up here in just about 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks. But, it was pretty standard Kirk of, you ask him. One thing that was crazy was the Tony Diaz quote. Yeah. And, you put that in context, and it's probably a little bit less crazy than maybe it looked on its face when I put it on Twitter. But it was, you might have to help me here. I don't have it in front of me, but it was Bob Sanders liked to tackle you, or was going to tackle you. Marshall Yonda was going to block you, or like to block you, and Tony Diaz likes to catch the ball. And he's not exactly saying that they're going to be in that same, and Tony is going to be in that same rarefied air as a Marshall Yonda, as a Bob Sanders, but that he has a chance to, because of that disposition and because of, his desire to grab the ball and even to put his body on the line to grab the ball in practice. So imagine what it will be like in games. But that was probably the biggest takeaway. Was in context, it's not as crazy, but it's still crazy for Kirk to say something like that. And I clipped it out, but I said something about the hype train with Tony Diaz, and Kirk goes, I don't like hype trains. So yeah. Still a little crazy, but that was probably the biggest thing, the biggest maybe outlier from media days.
Another big takeaway, and Eliot, we've talked about this a ton. It is that defensive tackle spot. And what he was mentioning, and I think it was specifically about the defensive line as a whole, but talking about playing 8, 9, 10 guys, something in that realm, it does feel like they're still trying to figure that out. And I don't think that is a surprise by any means, but that has to be such a huge question mark for this squad, specifically up the middle. Hawthorne, he was banged up during the spring. I think you have at least a known commodity there, but who else can help? And maybe it's just as simple as that. We're going to have these guys go out there, give us 15, 20 snaps a game. Give 5 different guys that opportunity to go out there, bust your ass, go out there, play as hard as possible, and we'll see if maybe one of these guys can hit and he can rely on them a little bit more. But what did he say? He didn't anticipate anybody getting 500 snaps this year?
Yeah, something to that effect. And, maybe Bryce Hawthorne ends up there, but yeah, it's pretty much exactly as you said it. I mean, it's still a big question mark. It's still the possibility of rotating 8 to 10 guys, and 2 of those guys being walk-ons, and Will Hubert, Luke Gaffney. It's just, I mean, and then you go beyond that, Devin Kennedy, Brad Fitzgibbon, some second, third-year guys that you're hoping can make a leap. But of course, it's the same with the defensive end position, Kamari Brown, Jose Epinesa, Joseph Anderson, that type of player. And then, of course, you mentioned Bryce Hawthorne, Kenneth Merriweather's kind of the only other guy in that same position of, he's played and he's played a good amount, but he wasn't a star, and you're kind of hoping that he becomes a star this year. Trent, I mean, I think our guess is as good as Kirk's at this point of who plays, how well they play, and how frequently they play.
Well, we did not get an answer to quarterback, and that is not a surprise. I don't think anybody thought, you know what, we're going to go over to Chicago. We're going to get the answer we're all looking for. It's going to be either Hank Brown or Jeremy Hecklinski. We do know that part of it at the very least. But after hearing Kirk a little bit talk about the position, there's been a lot of talk from all the guys, from Tim Lester to offensive staff members, Kirk, that they say they're confident at the quarterback spot. Do you completely buy in that they're confident, regardless if it's Brown or Hecklinski, that they're going to get solid quarterback play?
Oh, Trent, that's the $1 million question. That's been the $1 million question leading into the last 4 or 5 seasons. I'm probably in the same way as I was last year of believe it when I see it. And we saw it towards the end of the season with Mark Gronowski. Now it's a little bit different it's a lot of bit different with Hank Brown, with Jeremy Hecklinski, in that they have a year plus in this system, but Mark had the confidence of been there, done that, won a national championship. Does Jeremy Hecklinski, does Hank Brown have that confidence, especially with Jeremy having not really played any meaningful snaps in his college football career, Hank Brown playing meaningful snaps, but them not being great. I mean, particularly, we all know the Indiana game, don't need to beat that dead horse, but then you look back at Arkansas when he was at Auburn and he threw 3 interceptions in the first half against his first, time playing against Power 4 competition. So, man, looking back at some film recently from the open spring practice, and you can kind of see, they're actively trying to get Hank to throw the ball down the field. They're actively trying to get Heck to take the check down, make the smart play, make the safe play. And I'm not buying necessarily into the confidence until I see it. Not even just against Northern Illinois, Iowa State, or UNI, because those are all tune-up games. But I mean, somebody's in for a rude awakening, I think, against Michigan at the Big House. We'll see, but like I said, I'll believe it when I see it, and especially against NIU. Like, whether it's a tune-up game or not, those first games of the year are telling about what you're going to get. And Mark was nervous last year, eventually settled in a couple games into the year against Albany. But I think it'll be really interesting to see who trots out there against Northern Illinois. And I think we'll get an indication as to if the confidence is warranted or not.
Eliot Clough, Hawkeye Insider, part of 24/7 Sports, joining us here. Him along with David Eichholt, Sean Bach, doing great work over there. Hawkeye Insider for all the Hawkeye insights. Eliot, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you again next week.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks, Trent.
Eliot Clough, fresh off a bachelor party, and talking to us here on The Lunch Rush here with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports on ESPN Des Moines 102.1, along with the Rush Radio Network. Again, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, not just for my show here, The Lunch Rush, but you can also catch The Morning Rush with Travis and Ross. And you can also hear Sean and Lucas. That's right, Sean Roberts and Lucas Strain back on the airwaves on the Beyond the Bench, coming up from 4 until 6 on the Rush Radio Network. Coming back on the other side, and we got a whole lot more to get into. Cyclone fans, don't worry. We did not forget about you. We got you covered. You're going to be in good shape. Bill Seals is going to join us in the second hour of the program, and it is time once again for our daily conversations with the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Mitch Holthus will join us today in the spotlight. It is Patrick Mahomes. That's right, the quarterback making his way back from injury. We'll talk about Mahomes and a lot more with the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, plus my picks of the day. We'll kick off hour number 2, talking Cyhawks. That's coming up next. Stay right here. It's The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports.
Get in on the action with the world's largest sports book right at your fingertips. Circa Sports Iowa is where the pros play. Enjoy the highest limits, lowest takeouts, and competitive betting menus. Download, fund, and bet from anywhere in Iowa. Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com. Must be over 21 and present in Iowa to bet. Have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
We are ready. We've waited for this one for a long time. The anticipation, the excitement, the intensity. The teams are on the field looking to build on last week's success.
Construction doesn't need a play-by-play call, but it does need a team. Like the team at Graphite Construction Group. From concept to planning to building completion, our team is with you every step of the way.
And the beam is up.
Mitch, this isn't a field goal.
You mean like it's a touchdown? Graphite Construction Group.
Graphite Construction Group. We build it better.
So, Russ, what do you do in the off-season?
Mitch, we don't have an off-season.
I think you all know by now that the Chicken Coop is one of my favorite places to go for a cold one and great food. And their new made-from-scratch menu has me going back even more. Their signature wings with 12 different sauces, the Nashville Hot Chicken Sandwich, and you gotta try the new Big B chopped cheese. And the Chicken Coop has 3 locations: Urbandale, West Des Moines, and Ankeny. Wherever you are in the metro, the Chicken Coop has you covered. If you're thinking of incorporating or setting up an Iowa LLC, zoom right past LegalZoom and work with Rush Niggett, a Brick Gentry PC. He's set up an affordable online small business package that helps you decide whether to form a limited liability company LLC or a corporation. With Rush Niggett's help, it's easy to form your new small business. Rush Niggett, a business lawyer with Brick Gentry Law PC. Go to rushonbusiness.com. It's good to have Rush on your side. Do you remember the last walk-off homer to win the World Series? It's been a while, but the answer is 1993. Do you know when Wolf Roofing started roofing houses? That's right, 1993. Wolf Roofing has been around for a long time. For your next roofing project, put the experience of Wolf Roofing on your side. Find them on the web at wolfroofing.net or give them a call at 515-225-8866 or online wolfroofing.net.
We want you at Sonorama. We make all the signs, you just make the commas. Stress-free life out in the Bahamas. If you need a life without any drama, it's just Sonorama. Over 700 locations. We got owners spanning all across the nations. Imagine what we do with the next generation. Everything here, just a big celebration. 1986 when we started it all. Looking at us now, I wouldn't change it at all. We don't want to make this too complex. Hit us in the contacts, let's set up a contract. We want you at Sonorama.
Sinorama of Urbandale, 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale. Online, sinorama.com/IA-Urbandale.
KRNT Des Moines is 102.1 FM and 1350 ESPN, a Des Moines Media Group station. Your local solution to get your business wanted, found, and chosen. The biggest sports stories are just getting started. From Hawkeyes and Cyclones to the NFL, MLB, NBA, and beyond. This is The Lunch Rush, presented by Circa Sports. Now, here's Trent Condon.
Hour number 2, welcome back. It is The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports, here on ESPN Des Moines, 102.1 FM. You can also find us on the AM dial on 1350, along with all the Chicago Cubs broadcasts here on ESPN Des Moines. And you can also see us streaming on the Rush Radio Network. A lot of ways to get involved. Know some people jumping in your car for the noon hour. And as we begin hour number 2, we talked some Hawkeyes in hour number 1 with Eliot Clough. We were also joined by Matt Snyder, talk some baseball. You can catch the podcast as well. We'll have that for you, and an opportunity for you to catch up with things on the podcast side. Go to therushradio.com where you can find things there, or just search The Lunch Rush, and you'll be able to find it on all your podcast devices. As we continue here, hour number 2, coming up, we're going to talk Cyclones with Bill Seals from CycloneReport.com. He'll be our guest coming up here in about 15 minutes. And then Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, will join us with his daily training camp reports. Excited to get Mitch in here. We'll talk about Patrick Mahomes and his comeback from the ACL injury from a year ago. Saw him out there. In fact, Saturday we were having breakfast. So over the week, last week, as I do each and every year, that is vacation week for the Condon family. As normally I'm concluding my baseball duties with high school baseball. This year it was high school softball, working with the group from CISN and streaming all the games on the Iowa Girls Digital Network. So after softball wrapped up, went over to then Clinton. So I went from Fort Dodge back home, then over to Clinton, did an event with Mike Palm over there at the Wild Rose, and we got in the car, head to the airport Saturday morning. We left at 4:15, and we made our way to New Orleans. So went on a trip and took a cruise with my wife and her family and the kids and their cousins and had a great time doing that. But got back, stayed in New Orleans for an extra couple of days. And as that was going on, well, Drew will be excited about that, as I heard all the Saints talk that was available out there. Drew Rinehart, my radio producer here, had a lot of Saints talk on that front. But as we're going through and looking at just the different aspects and getting ready, kind of had this thought and had thoughts about what this Iowa and Iowa State season, what they're going to look like. And one of the off-season topics that we like to tackle every time is, what's the win total combined between the two teams? Well, we know it's got to be 1 because somebody's got to win the game. 7.5 is the number for Iowa currently in the market. You can find it Circa Sports, 7.5, the over-under in terms of wins. Over on the Iowa State side, you're at 4.5. That is the number that is available for the Cyclones. And when I start with Iowa State, I look at the Cyclones and this great unknown. And we've never had a year anything close like this. We've seen plenty of coaching changes, but in today's environment with the transfer portal, we've never seen anything even close to this. And on top of it, what Matt Cable did in taking the number of guys that he did with him at Penn State, much like we saw Curt Cignetti do going from James Madison and going to Indiana and being able to hit the ground running. We've seen this other places now trying to go that level. And now all these new faces that come in. And we know Jalen Raynor because, Iowa State played Arkansas State a year ago. So for the most part, you're going to remember the quarterback on the other side. You know that. There's a couple of holdovers. Conradi probably at the top of that list. But this roster, anybody that thinks they know, that has a good perspective, and that's not just you and I and fans and people that watch the Cyclones week after week. Not only that, but I think inside that coaching staff, yes, they have obviously a better idea than us. They have a better baseline of things after watching these guys go through spring practice and what they've done developmentally here throughout the summer months. We have an idea about that. But for Jimmy Rogers, throughout the whole coaching staff, for them to really know what this is going to look like, what it's going to look like playing in the Big 12, you don't know. And one thing that I think all of us in the media, when we've talked about this Cyclone team as he's fallen back, is just that. We don't know. And something that I came to a conclusion at a little while ago is, I think we do know. We just don't want to say it out loud. They're not going to be very good. And that might be hurtful. That might be something that leaves you rolling your eyes out. Here's just another Hawkeye trying to trounce the Cyclones. And I don't think that's what it is. I think we do know. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't have a solid season. And with the schedule that they have this year, the non-conference, obviously the road trip to Iowa is going to be difficult for them. But overall, when you look at this Cyclone team, you look up and down the roster, where these guys came from, what their resumes look like, this could be a team that could scratch and claw their way to even bowl eligibility at 6-6. I think that would be a huge accomplishment for them in year number 1. But they're still not going to be a great team. It is going to be aided by a schedule that is not overly daunting. We know Texas Tech's not on there. There are a couple of difficult games, no doubt, but they can get there. Because as you look up and down that schedule, there are a ton of winnable games. And there are a ton of games that you look at and say, in this perspective, yes, they can sneak one out here. They can steal a game there. Are you scared of Kansas State? A lot of people think that Kansas State might be the second best team in the Big 12 this year. Yet, I'm not scared that this is going to be some kind of blowout, that the Wildcats are going to run roughshod over them. Coupled with all that together, I think we know it's not going to be a great team by any means. Can they be okay? That might be a realistic goal to shoot for. On the other side for the Hawkeyes, when I look at this team, I can't remember this many question marks for an Iowa football team in a really long time. Yes, we talk about quarterback. And did they make the wrong decision and not going into the portal and having to spend, and we know the money that it takes? Did they make a mistake of not going out there and finding somebody? We'll see. they feel confident with Hank Brown or Jeremy Hecklinski. They've said as much throughout the whole time about that. I have to see it to believe it. I think all of us have the memories of the Indiana game, the missed screen pass that would have won the football game. Iowa would have beat the undefeated national champions if Hank Brown could just complete that screen pass. It's as simple as that. And because of that, I also think that he is working behind the 8 ball. For the fan base as a whole, they're going to have that memory. And if he does get the starting job, if it is, we find out the week before, Hank Brown's going to be your starter, there is going to be already so much scar tissue built up from the Hawkeye fan base because of that the Boo Birds are going to be ready. And we know those Hawkeye fans definitely like to use the boos to their advantage inside a Kinnick Stadium, either for or against their team. We've seen that plenty of times in the past. That's why maybe the easier decision is to go with Jeremy Hecklinski, go with the guy that is the shiny object. People excited about the gunslinger, the guy that runs around, the guy that can make some plays, looks different than what we've seen out of an Iowa quarterback in so long, and people will get excited about that. And if it doesn't go well, then you go to Hank Brown. Because if it is vice versa, and I do believe at this point, if they had to make a choice, I still think it would be Hank Brown, something that changed before spring practice began. But that aside, I think for the betterment of the team this year, that is the component that would be probably better for the fan base. Here's the thing. Kirk Ferentz doesn't care about that. Kirk Ferentz wants to put what he believes is the best guy for them to win football games. He's not going to care about the Boo Birds. He's not going to care about the fan base and social media and message boards and people going crazy. He does not care one iota about those kind of things. What he cares about is putting the best product out there. But the questions go so much more beyond just what they have at the quarterback spot. I think they're absolutely loaded at running back. I believe the offensive line is going to be very good this year, even losing 3 guys to the NFL. I think they're in good shape there. I have bought into the Tony Diaz hype. I'm ready to be hurt again. And Tony Diaz might hurt us again as we're actually hoping for an Iowa wide receiver to break out and do something this season. It's a real possibility, a real component that can get there, but it's on the other side of the football. You're going to have a defensive tackle spot that is incredibly green. Overall, that defensive line. And the secret sauce for Iowa football and what Phil Parker has been able to do in developing this defense year after year after year of what they do is what they do up front. Not in terms of getting to the quarterback, not what we traditionally think about the defensive line. Well, you're good if you get a bunch of sacks. That's not what it is. What it is hand placement. I've told the story before. Went to an Iowa practice back some 20 years ago. It was after the 2004 season and was at the Capital One. I was covering that, quote unquote covering it. I just got a seat in the press box. But that I was down there for that, hanging out with some friends, and got an opportunity, though, to check into a practice. And when I did, the 10 minutes that we were allowed in, all I saw was the defensive line, and they're working on hand placement. And it was 10 minutes of them, hit, put your hands up, hit, put your hands up. Hand placement for 10 minutes. And that's all we got to see out of that front. But that's what it is. They are so fundamentally sound. And that development, and it takes years and years of that slow training to get what they have. Well, they don't have that this year up front. And it doesn't matter if Jade Montgomery has another great year as he kicks out to the will spot. It's not going to matter if we see right away Cam Buffington come in and become yet another star at the middle linebacker spot. If that defensive line cannot keep people off those linebackers, off the defensive backs, the Iowa defense is going to look a whole lot different. The other thing that concerns me about this Iowa football team this year is this. It is something that Kirk Ferentz talks about so much, and that is leadership. Leadership within his team, finding those leaders. I don't remember a coach. Now, it's very rare that we're hearing a coach talk for 28 years, but somebody that talks more outside of lip service about real things in leadership than Kirk Ferentz. And after you lose a huge senior class, you only have 10 scholarship seniors on this roster. You feel good about some of the younger guys, the guys that are not seniors. Zach Lutmer, great leader. You have guys, Trevor Lauk, developing into those kind of players. You have that component, but as young as they are, as green as they are, that's something that certainly leaves you scratching your head. This many question marks about a team. They feel confident, as they should. We'll find out more coming up a week from Friday at Iowa Football Media Day, but those are some of my thoughts here as we get back into the swing of Cy-Hawk Talk, and we're going to continue it. Coming up next, Bill Seals is going to join us from CycloneReport.com. We'll get the latest on the Cyclones with Bill. get his perspective on everything going on. Plus, we'll talk some Chiefs a little bit later on as we hit the NFL in our daily training camp report with Mitch Holthus. That's coming up here at about 12:40. Plus, my picks of the day, all to come as we continue. Stay right there. It's the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports. Back with more here in a moment. The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. Trent Condon here for Circa Sports. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
We are ready. We've waited for this one for a long time. The anticipation, the excitement, the intensity. The teams are on the field looking to build on last week's success.
Construction doesn't need a play-by-play call, but it does need a team. Like the team at Graphite Construction Group. From concept to planning to building completion, our team is with you every step of the way.
And the beam is up.
Mitch, this isn't a field goal.
You mean like it's a touchdown? Graphite Construction Group.
Graphite Construction Group. We build it better.
So, Russ, what do you do in the off-season?
Mitch, we don't have an off-season.
Family owned since 1970, Kemker's True Value and Rental helps you buy what you want and rent what you need. Get to work on that to-do list with help from Kemker's True Value and Rental. Kemker's has all your hardware needs, grills for that family barbecue, and a one-stop shop for all your lawn and garden needs. Plus, their rental catalog is perfect for do-it-yourselfers. Make it Kemker's True Value and Rental. Find out what they can do for you at KemkersTrueValue.com. That's KemkersTrueValue.com.
We want you at Sonorama. We make all the signs, you just make the commas. Stress-free life out in the Bahamas. If you need a life without any drama, it's just Sonorama. Over 700 locations. We got owners spanning all across the nations. Imagine what we do with the next generation. Everything here, just a big celebration. 1986 when we started it all. Looking at us now, I wouldn't change it at all. We don't want to make this too complex. Hit us in the contacts, let's set up a contract. We want you at Sonorama.
Sinorama of Urbandale, 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale. Online, sinorama.com/IA-Urbandale. Joined by Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care. It's football season. Concussions always a big topic.
This year, 2 to 3 million sports-related concussions will occur, and about half of those go unreported. 2 out of every 10 high school students will suffer a concussion. The most important part is following through with your doctor, but the recommendations are different than they used to be. At Elite Eye Care, we can diagnose and treat the post-concussion visual symptoms that typically exist.
That's Dr. Heidi Bell with Elite Eye Care, with locations in Waukee, 2 in Ankeny, and the newest location in Norwalk for Elite Eye Care.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kelsey Edwards with Fuller Associates Family Dentistry. I'd like to invite you to join our practice. If you're looking for a new dentist or accepting new patients, I'd love to create the smile you deserve in a judgment-free zone. We have 2 convenient locations to choose from in Des Moines and Altoona and offer extended evening hours. As a third-generation dentist, I've had the pleasure of following in my grandfather's footsteps and now working alongside Dr. Stephen Fuller. You can find Fuller Associates Family Dentistry on Facebook or Instagram or by calling us at 515-266-3437.
Before, during, or after the game, your football headquarters for this year is Bevy's in West Des Moines. Bevy's after a football Friday night, Bevy's for college Saturday, and Bevy's for all the pro football action. A great brunch menu to get you ready for your football watching on the weekend. And it doesn't matter your team, you know you'll be covered at Bevy's because they love football just like you. Bevy's Tavern, 1350th Street in West Des Moines. Bevy's is your football headquarters.
At the Chicken Coop, we're starting from scratch.
That's right. We're dropping some new recipes along with your favorites, and they're all made from scratch.
Boneless wings and chicken tenders made from scratch when you order.
Get your spice on with our new Nashville hot chicken sandwich.
Or our new buffalo chicken sandwich.
Both made from scratch.
Don't forget our wings, made with 12 different sauces that are, you guessed it, made from scratch.
The Chicken Coop has the best chicken and is made from scratch in our kitchen.
Stop in or order online today.
The headlines keep coming, and the conversation keeps rolling. Back to the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon.
Welcome back as we continue on. It's the Lunch Rush here on 102.1 FM, ESPN Des Moines, along with the AM dial 1350. You can also catch us on the Rush Radio Network. Glad to have you aboard with us over there. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you get each and every one of our shows on the Rush Radio Network. Travis and Ross, that's right, Travis Justice and Ross Peterson, each and every morning from 6 until 8 o'clock. And then Beyond the Bench with Sean Roberts and Lucas Strain. They'll take the airwaves from 4 until 6. Hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube and get that. You can also catch each and every broadcast at therushladio.com. Let's get back into the sports talk, and let's get into it with Bill Seals as he joins us from CycloneReport.com, part of On3 and Rivals. You can find him on Twitter at William Seals. Bill, it's been too long, though I believe I saw you at the state softball tournament watching your Southeast Polk Rams. It was that, did I see that right? Were you down there or up there in Fort Dodge?
Actually, Trent, it was not me.
Oh.
So I didn't know I had too many doppelgangers out there, but you must have seen one of them.
I apparently did, and good thing that I didn't come up and start talking to them. And I think, who is this idiot? What is he talking about? I get that a lot already, but yeah, that would have gone a long ways. Well, good to talk to you again, regardless of that, Bill, as we are fresh off Big 12 football media days. We have Iowa State football media days coming up here around the corner. It is that time once again as we are gearing up towards football season. The big question that has been here over the last day and a half or so has been court cases. And it's the NCAA, so that shouldn't come as a surprise. But the 5-for-5 rule went into place here a couple of months back. Makes sense. Completely agree with what they did in the NCAA's decision. Just giving everybody 5 years of eligibility. Let's simplify things. I absolutely love that idea. However, well, now we got court cases, including the guys that just graduated, the guys that were part of the class of 2022 at the high school level. They were granted another year of eligibility. A lot of people already connecting dots. Now, Taven Lipsey, if he doesn't make the Pacers, could he come back in a Cyclone uniform? A lot of talk about that. Your takeaway from what we heard in the case and the opportunity for these guys to get another year of eligibility, and then secondly, how it pertains to the Cyclones.
Yeah, Trent. On that topic, what I'm hearing is that the Iowa State roster for this season is set. So I think at this point, Taven Lipsey's moved on. Iowa State's moved on. You saw them to an extent do that when Milan Momcilovic tested the NBA waters, ended up at Kentucky, and I think TJ likes what he has right now. That they do have a scholarship open, but I'm just not getting any indication right now that they're going to use that spot. I think they're going to save that one. So. But yeah, I mean, over on the football side too, that certainly was a little bit of a topic. I think with Jalen Rayner at Big 12 Media Days, I talked to him a little bit about that 5-for-5 rule. This will be his fourth. He's a true senior this year. I think every indication from him. He wanted to talk about the season 2026 first and foremost, but I got an inclination from him that I think he would entertain the idea of coming back to Iowa State in 2027 in that that fifth. I guess what are you going to call them? Super seniors again, like we did during the COVID era. I guess we would call him a super senior if he returns in 2027, and I think that would be an awesome thing for Iowa State's offense to get him back, as I think he's probably the most important piece, certainly on the offensive side, the most impactful transfer that they brought in for this year.
Absolutely. That would be a big one, and we'll see exactly what he's going to look like coming up this season and how good he's going to be for this Cyclone squad. After you get back and you hear all the Big 12 media days, and there were certainly some headlines that were made outside of the Iowa State conversation, but when we look at the Cyclones and you look at this squad, hearing from Jimmy Rogers, hearing from the players, your takeaway just overall from media days. We'll hear from a lot more players coming up at Iowa State football media days, but just kind of after you walked away from that, having that conversation, hearing those guys talk, did you improve just your feeling about how good this team can be?
Well, I think that, Jimmy Rogers, certainly some of the stories that came out of that is he's a very confident guy where this season is concerned. He was the one coach out of the 16 that voted for Iowa State to make the Big 12 championship game. So I think that speaks volumes. He is very high on this team. The Iowa State's been picked to finish 16th, but I think that's just something that's going to come up as a motivational thing for this team and going into this season. So I think he likes what he's gotten. Particularly I think on the defensive side of the ball, this is a coaching staff that has been together. Most of those assistants, the coordinator, Rogers, all came over from Washington State. I think that the transfers that they brought in on that side of the ball are going to be impact type guys. Several of those I think are going to impact the starting lineup. Braden Alls, I'll say in the defensive backfield, his injury was a big one. I think that safety will be a little bit of a question mark. But, just looking back to Big 12 Media Days, Bobby Terrell, Isaac Terrell, whatever you want to go with today. Bobby's his nickname, but he had the 7 sacks at Washington State a season ago. Iowa State, the lack of a pass rush. I can't count how many times we've talked about that in past years, Trent, and Iowa State, just the inability to get much pressure on the quarterback. I think that changes a little bit this year with the 4-man front. Bobby Terrell had 7 sacks a season ago. I think they're looking for big things from him. So, but those were probably some of the high points, I think, on Big 12 Media Day. And we're going to get Jimmy Rogers on Wednesday, actually, of this week as camp opens. We'll get him on day 1. Media Day won't be until Wednesday the 19th, but we'll get a little bit of a taste of the start of fall camp on Wednesday, and then we'll have open practice access on Saturday. So it's going to be a big first week here of football starting back up.
That is absolutely great, and looking forward to that. And as we gear up towards football season, I love your previews that you do. You really dive in deep over at Cyclone Report. And your one is something, Bill, I'm sure you roll your eyes at times because I bring it up all the time. I am an offensive line guy. And maybe it's just because, I've grown fat in my adult years, and that's probably a part of it, that I look at the offensive line. But offensive line, the importance, it felt like year after year after year after with Campbell, they just couldn't completely get that thing figured out. Now, it's not to say that suddenly they're going to go out there in year number 1 that this offensive line is going to be better than anything we've seen. It's so many new faces, trying to sort out exactly how it looks. But where are you in terms of how comfortable you are saying this offensive line can be all right? You're going to get a glimpse of it, and that will definitely help. I know that overall. But when you look at just how you build an offense, you have to be good up front. How good can this offensive line be for the Cyclones?
Well, that's a huge question mark, Trent. I think you talk about Tyler Roll's offense. This is one that they want to run the football. That first and foremost, that's where they want to get things settled. They've got Jalen Raynor coming in, who's going to be a running quarterback that can get some yardage as well. But I think that all starts up front. They've got, perfect timing on this conversation too, as I just published the offensive line camp preview as we went on the air here. So, 4 of the 5 projected starters I've got are all transfers. Garrett Rutledge, I think, is another one. He's a returning player, still a young guy, redshirt sophomore from Council Bluffs. He's another one I think could get into that starting lineup this season. But really, it's transfers. A big transfer influence there in that starting 5. I think what we're going to end up seeing. And these are guys from all different backgrounds too. You've got some FCS guys. You've got Jake Taylor from Oklahoma. There's some guys even, further on in the pipeline right now from Auburn. DeAndre Carter really looks the part. Gavin Brocious from Michigan State. So just guys from the Power 4, guys that I think are hungry and looking to, make an impact still at this level. And then you've got a good mix of FCS guys making the move up who are very well versed in the level that they were in and did some great things. So, and the other thing I did point out in the with the fall camp preview, is 4 of the projected starters that I've got are all guys. Each guy has multiple seasons of eligibility remaining. So I think that's a good thing in that, maybe we won't quite see the finished product in year 1, but I think it gives Coach Thornton a way to kind of build this thing and get that going. They did that with Ryan Clanton. They had guys multiple years, kind of started building that thing and had finally started to really, I think the last half of last season, the results were there. They were showing up. And I think that, it's going to take some time with this group, but they've got guys with multiple seasons of eligibility kind of working their way through the first camp coming up.
One who also talk as we talk about the offensive line and the guys that'll be behind him, and though we talked about Rayner, the running back position. Aiden Flora was definitely a fun one to watch, what that guy can do in the return game, and definitely showed some wiggle of what he could do a year ago, the former ADM product of what he did on the field. Cameron Petaway comes in with definitely a bit of a resume in what he did at the MAC, but I think maybe the most intriguing guy is the latest addition that they got, Arnold Barnes III, who comes in from Tulane, a guy that played a lot with the Green Wave, and just hearing Jimmy Rogers kind of talk about him, he's a bigger back, 220 pounds. You kind of see some of the highlight things, and it gets the juices flowing just a little bit there. Would you be surprised if we find out here pretty early in the season, maybe Barnes becomes the guy that is your starter at the running back spot?
Well, he's certainly, Trent, he's certainly a guy that is the most experienced out of that core of running backs right now. You look at Flora and Petaway; those are the two that seem to be at the forefront now of all conversations about that running back room. But the fact remains, Flora only had four rushes last season. Granted, he turned those into 58 yards and a touchdown, but still 4 carries last season, and he's been expected to play a much larger role this season. But, we've seen it with Arnold Barnes, I think, and a veteran guy from Tulane, 3 seasons there. He never really carved out, I think, for a prolonged stretch, the starting, the bell cow role there. But I think you look at that group of running backs right now, and he's kind of like Saladin Allah, the Oregon State transfer who had the Achilles injury. He's out for this season, but you look at Barnes, and he's probably the one that closely resembles Saladin as the one who's got the look of a bell cow running back, But I think though they'll start camp, though, I think Flora probably is going to be the guy. They're going to try and see what they can get out of him on 3 downs, and Petaway has shown he can catch the ball out of the backfield. So it'll be interesting to see how those roles get divvied up as they move through camp.
This is the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports here on 102.1 ESPN Des Moines, along with streaming on the Rush Radio Network. Bill, you had an opportunity to talk with Jamie Pollard as he is now going through. I'm not sure if there's going to be any rocking chairs as he makes his way through the travels of the Big 12 as they do a retirement tour, as he gets ready for retirement coming up next year. But a few takeaways from talking with Jamie Pollard as he reflects back on what has been an incredible run as the athletic director at Iowa State.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I asked him, what his legacy is at Iowa State, and I think I got an interesting answer there from him on that. I think it was his ability to kind of adapt with the times and kind of, he also talked about the head coaching stuff too. A lot was brought about, hiring assistant coaches to be head coaches early in his tenure. That's been well publicized how that approach has changed. You saw it play out in December with Jimmy Rogers, the head coach for 2 stops before Iowa State gets the job at Iowa State over Taylor Mauser. That's been well chronicled. So, some talk about how his, over 2+ decades, how his approaches have changed. What the new AD, the challenges he's going to face, the reserve, the athletic department reserve fund is going to be out by the end of 2027. So a lot into the challenges that are going to face the new AD at Iowa State, and on the challenges already facing President Cook right now as they, look to generate money that they can to get into the rev share, what that could become. It's gone up $1 million, I think it was, for this sports college calendar year. But the over the cap amount, Iowa State's around $30 million total, I think, right now when it comes to rev share and over the cap. But that's still got to go up, and that's going to go up at the same time as that reserve runs out after 2027. So, President Cook, the new AD, they're going to have to be fundraisers almost first and foremost. Got into the future of Cytown, what that's going to look like. It's kind of interesting. Jamie was one of the guys that spearheaded this whole thing, and he's not going to be around to see it through. So that'll be the new AD, and President Cook already taken a pretty active role there, and some others in the Iowa State athletic department took a look at the future of college athletics. The conversation with him last week is while all those 11th hour negotiations were going on with the Protect College Sports Act. And, kind of some of the inner workings there was really interesting to get into with Jamie. So, and then the calendar year, looking ahead at Iowa State, granted, again, Jamie probably going to be out of there by the time basketball season starts. But, what does that sports calendar year look like in Iowa State, starting with football? And we get into that a little bit. Jimmy Rogers' first season. So, two-part series, a ton of great info, and I've already gotten a lot of great feedback on that. So certainly something to check out at Cyclone Report.
Yeah, great read, definitely, and going through and a lot of different questions that you tackled. You mentioned Cytown, and that is one, Bill, I know when it first kind of came to fruition, and we talked about it years ago, it's always been difficult for me to wrap my mind around how this exactly is going to work. And I just recently read something from a couple weeks back about the Power and Light District, which is kind of something similar to what happens down in Kansas City, and that yet 20 years in is still struggling to turn a profit. The concerns, you talk about the financial avenue, yeah, it'd be great to be another revenue stream. However, there is still a possibility it doesn't turn into that, and it turns into a drain financially on Iowa State University. How do you envision Cytown, and do you have some concerns about how this is going to look in a community the size of Ames?
Well, yeah, I think that the main thing that Jamie reiterated was the need to keep selling those suites around Cytown. I think that's one of the big things right now. They get those suites sold, and I think it really paves the way to get this thing to keep moving. But I think that the McFarland Clinic, it keeps plugging away. It sounds like it's going to be the Wednesday of the season opener that they'd have a groundbreaking on the rest of the project. From what I understand, that's going to include likely include a hotel, and we'll find out some of the other tenants, be it restaurants, other businesses that are going to be going into to Cytown. So that some news coming on that. A little over a month here. But, as far as this becoming a financial drain, I think on Iowa State, I think a lot of those costs right now, I mean, those are costs that Goldenrod, I think, is concerned. I think a lot of the financial stuff falling back on them right now. I think Iowa State, this is only something that they stand to gain from. I think the revenues from this over a several year time period is going to go into renovations at Iowa State Center. I think some of those are already underway. C.Y. Stevens, I think Sheeman has seen the most of those, the work right now on Sheeman. But then you've also got C.Y. Stevens, some work around Iowa State with Hilton Coliseum. So I think all those revenues will go back into that. That's first and foremost what this is about. And Jamie reiterates that a lot, that this is an Iowa State University project instead of an Iowa State athletics project right now, with the work being done on Iowa State Center out of these revenues.
Bill Seals, CycloneReport.com. You can catch that interview and a whole lot more over on the website. Does great work, part of On3 and Rivals. Bill Seals joining us here today. Bill, great to catch up once again. It sounds like you got a busy couple of weeks here in front of you before we get to football season.
Yeah, a lot of availabilities, Trent. We've been talking, us in the media circle, been talking about all the access we're getting right off the bat. That's going to be interesting. the hour-long open practice we'll get on Saturday morning is something that I don't think I can't remember the last time we've had that. We had some time during the spring, so it definitely is fall camp. Cyclone Report on 3 is definitely going to have you covered, and a lot more availability with the media that we're getting over the next several weeks.
Bill, appreciate the time as always. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds good, Trent. Appreciate it.
That is Bill Seals joining us. Cyclone Report is where you can find it. CycloneReport.com for Bill Seals. This is the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon here on 102.1 ESPN Radio Des Moines, along with the Rush Radio Network. If you're watching us again on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, not just for my show, middays from 11 to 1. You can also catch our afternoon show, Sean and Lucas, back together once again with Beyond the Bench. That'll come up from 4 until 6 o'clock. And on the mornings with Ross and Travis with the Morning Rush, all here on the Rush Radio Network. Set that dial as well. Hit your preset if you're listening on the radio, 102.1, or if you're old school, 1350. Not only my show each and every day. And how about the lead-in? Golic's back together. Mike and Mike Jr. now. New radio show on ESPN Radio from 9 until 11, leading right into here the Lunch Rush show. Great lead-in there, and it was great to hear those two guys together on their airwaves. And, of course, Mike Golic back on ESPN Radio, something that I think there's a lot of people not sure that was ever going to happen, yet here we are on top of that. Speaking of old-timers on the radio, my former partner, Ken Miller, he is going to be joining us coming up a week from Thursday. Set your calendar. Now, Ken, first he said maybe an hour, then he said maybe the whole show. We'll see if we can get Ken in here for the full 2 hours. A lot to get into. Now, he wants to get his opinions out there for the football season. He wants to make his season-long predictions. So Ken is going to join me, though, coming up a week from Thursday. That is August 13th. Ken Miller back on the radio airwaves and also on the Rush Radio Network. Looking forward to that. Well, one of the guys that we've talked to a ton throughout the years is Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's up next. Each and every day here throughout August camp, Mitch Holthus will join us, usually 5, 7, 8 minutes, right in that range. We'll talk with Mitch. We'll have a player in the spotlight, an audio clip, and today we're talking Patrick Mahomes. Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, he's next. Stay right there. This is The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports. We're back with more in a moment.
Get in on the action with the world's largest sports book right at your fingertips. Circa Sports Iowa is where the pros play. Enjoy the highest limits, lowest takeouts, and competitive betting menus. Download, fund, and bet from anywhere in Iowa. Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com. Must be over 21 and present in Iowa to bet. Have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
If recent hail may have impacted your home, contact Wolf Roofing. Our Hague-certified inspectors provide free, honest assessments the Wolf way. And Wolf Roofing has been serving Central Iowa and the state of Iowa since 1993. If you're concerned about hail damage, reach out to Wolf Roofing. Free Hague-certified inspectors deliver accurate, insurance-trusted roof assessments you can rely on. Thorough, honest, the Wolf way. Check out Wolf Roofing online, wolfroofing.net.
Trent Condon here, joined by Dr. Ethan Heisman from Elite Eye Care. Tell us a little bit about those back-to-school exams.
Back-to-school eye exams should always be part of the back-to-school process for the kids. 80% of what our kids learn, it's through vision. So it's very important that the kids, even if you feel like they see okay, get in for an eye exam, make sure that everything's good so we don't have any vision problems that are interfering with their learning.
And not just for the youngsters, everybody needs to take care of their eyes.
Absolutely. Health problems, not just eye health problems that can be detected through your annual eye exam.
That's Dr. Ethan Heisman, Elite Eye Care.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kelsey Edwards with Fuller Associates Family Dentistry. I'd like to invite you to join our practice. If you're looking for a new dentist, we're accepting new patients. I'd love to create the smile you deserve in a judgment-free zone. We have 2 convenient locations to choose from in Des Moines and Altoona and offer extended evening hours. As a third-generation dentist, I've had the pleasure of following in my grandfather's footsteps and now working alongside Dr. Stephen Fuller. You can find Fuller Associates Family Dentistry on Facebook or Instagram or by calling us at 515-266-3437.
If you're thinking of incorporating or setting up an Iowa LLC, zoom right past LegalZoom and work with Rush Niggett, a Brick Gentry PC. He's set up an affordable online small business package that helps you decide whether to form a limited liability company LLC or a corporation. With Rush Niggett's help, it's easy to form your new small business. Rush Niggett, a business lawyer with Brick Gentry Law PC. Go to rushonbusiness.com. It's good to have Rush on your side. Before, during, or after the game, your football headquarters for this year is Bevy's in West Des Moines. Bevy's after a football Friday night, Bevy's for college Saturday, and Bevy's for all the pro football action. A great brunch menu to get you ready for your football watching on the weekend. And it doesn't matter your team, you know you'll be covered at Bevy's because they love football just like you. Bevy's Tavern, 1350th Street in West Des Moines. Bevy's is your football headquarters. I think you all know by now that the Chicken Coop is one of my favorite places to go for a cold one and great food. And their new made-from-scratch menu has me going back even more. Their signature wings with 12 different sauces, the Nashville Hot Chicken Sandwich, and you gotta try the new Big B chopped cheese. And the Chicken Coop has 3 locations: Urbandale, West Des Moines, and Ankeny. Wherever you are in the metro, the Chicken Coop has you covered.
We don't wanna make this too complex. Hit us in the contacts, let's set up a contract. We want you at Sonorama. We make all the signs, you just make the commas. Stress-free life out in the Bahamas. If you need a life without any drama, it's just Sonorama. 30 years experience and we ain't gonna drift back. Building up a brand and we always keep it intact.
Sinorama of Urbandale, 10301 Dennis Drive in Urbandale.
You're listening to The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon on 102.1 FM and 1350 ESPN Des Moines.
Welcome back once again. It's The Lunch Rush with Trent Condon here, presented by Circa Sports on 102.1 FM, ESPN Radio Des Moines, along with 1350 AM and streaming everywhere at therushradio.com and the Rush Radio Network. Glad to have you aboard here on our debut here on ESPN Radio Des Moines, along with the Rush Radio Network, along with the Morning Rush with Ross and Travis from 6 until 8 o'clock, and Beyond the Bench with Sean and Lucas coming up here from 4 until 6 o'clock. Well, it has been a while, but it is good to talk football once again with our man. He is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, as he joins us here today and joins us throughout the upcoming August camp. Mitch, it's been a while. How's your summer been? Football season is here. It feels good.
It does, and this offseason was a little bit different than the last, 7, because we didn't make the playoffs. There was some extra time, but somehow it evaporated. I'm trying to think, what did I do with the extra time? But, yeah, we're here and up and running. I got to tell you, though, Trent, there have been more Iowa fans here to start this camp than I ever remember. They come up and say hi, in the normal places, right, the southwest corner, but a lot of Des Moines folks. There was a gal, Steph Eifler. Do you know Steph from Carroll, Iowa?
Yeah, it sounds familiar. I know a lot of Carroll people, that's for sure.
Yeah, Carroll Tigers. But she says she was the Taylor Swift of Iowa. I don't know. I thought that's a little presumptuous, but hey, whatever. But great. And then another group from Hawkeyes came up, Amanda, Haley, and Hudson Olson. And they live in Johnston, but they're a Hawkeyes Northwest Wolf. It's every day, though. Corydon, it's been crazy how many Iowa people are at this camp.
Love that, absolutely. And all corners of the state throughout your travels, covering basketball and what you've done and all the different appearances that you made here in our great state. And happy to have you here with ESPN Radio Des Moines and with us each and every day. Mitch, the question, it's coming. It's going to be coming all the time, and it is about the quarterback spot and the return of Patrick Mahomes from the injury. It's going to be something that's going to be huge, how camp's going to look, how he's looked. I was having breakfast on Saturday morning with the family at the hotel we were staying at and saw that knee brace that was on him. It looked like one of those knee braces from back in the 80s people had to wear, obviously being very protective of their star quarterback. Just let's start with the latest and where he is on the rehab and the return.
All off season long, I was asked the question, ad nauseum, and I just said he's way ahead of schedule, probably 30 days ahead of schedule. Now I would tell you he's eclipsed even that. It has been one of the more remarkable things I've seen in my brief 33 years in the National Football League. The guy, I've seen so many guys work hard and, the exceptional workers. This guy has gone beyond the solar system 7 hours a day, basically 7 days a week in working to get ready to go. And he hasn't missed a beat. I caught up with him and asked him how arduous this has been and where he's at.
Yeah, it's just a daily process. It's every single day you got to give everything you have, and then kind of refurbish and do it again the next day. And it gives you a great perspective on how brittle and how short football is, and how you can really have to maximize it every time. And so I'm just excited to get back on that field now. It was and be able to go out there and practice again. It's been a lot of fun.
So 3 things there. 1, just every day he's attacked it. 2, the maturity to realize football doesn't last forever. We all think we're going to live forever. Football players think they're going to play football forever, and we know that it's very finite. That has come home for him to roost, and so that thought is actually a good one. And then 3, just how excited he's been. Trent, I will tell you that he has not missed a beat. He looks like he is on fire. And no-look passes, moving to his left, moving to his right. He's run sprint option plays. All right, can we skip those? But he's done 11-on-11 work. It's been remarkable. It's like nothing I've seen.
It has been fun to watch, and it never came as a surprise. When the injury happened in December, a lot of people, well, he's not going to be back until October. With modern medicine, the way that we've seen ACL injuries, the way that they have changed, I didn't have a doubt that he was going to be ready. But when we talk about being ready for the season, there's still a couple of check marks I'm sure that he's going to have to hit. Has Coach Reed or anybody within the staff said, what else they're looking for here outside of going through practice? Is there anything that you can point to that they're still looking to check off to say, yes, he's going to be ready to go in September?
I think once he takes a good pop, a good hit. Now he's got the jersey on, like do not touch. But we've worked on blitz period now, 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row, and Spags has exotic blitzes, and they're coming. And we got some new guys I'll talk about later in these episodes that are pretty good, but it's getting popped, the one unexpected pop that you don't see coming and how he usually bounces up and let's go. So we'll see. They're not going after him, but you know what I'm talking about. It'd just be one of those jolts that, okay, yeah, no, he's ready for the Broncos on Monday Night Football.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. Well, speaking of good hits, it's a good hit with you each and every day. It's presented by our friends at Papa John's of Iowa. Great group of people. And for people that maybe are new to the new show that I have running here on ESPN Des Moines and the Rush Radio Network, the Donaldsons, a great group of people.
Yeah, I love you doing this show, and you're going to kill it. You already are. But Matt and Tom Donaldson and their legion of managers at the Papa John's locations that they have across Iowa are remarkable. Yeah, they sell great pizza. Yeah, I'm going to give you specials throughout the month and all throughout the Chiefs season, but it's way more than that with them. The work they do in the state of Iowa for the city of Des Moines, the environs thereof, they don't brag about it. They don't puff their chest. I'll pump their chest. I'll raise their flag because it's phenomenal. I've seen it firsthand what Tom and Matt Donaldson and their managers do at Papa John's of Iowa. So when you're buying a pizza pie from them, you're doing a whole lot more than just enjoying a good, nice, tasty za.
No doubt. Great people and great place to go and great pizza on top of it, which is a great thing. Well, great specials as well on a daily basis with Mitch Holthus. Mitch, great to hear your voice once again. Looking forward to football season and talking with you each and every day. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Trent. Real quick, we got an emerging story here from Des Moines with Xavier Wampa. Bring it up. We'll talk about it later in the week.
I'm looking forward to that, no doubt. We'll talk about it then. Thanks, Mitch.
See ya.
Xavier Wampa turning some heads down there in Chiefs camp, and that is a great thing. Saw a picture of him a little bit earlier on in camp, and yeah, he's turning some heads, undrafted. I go back and calling so many high school games, and actually there's been a question out there about all the high school broadcasts that I do throughout the time. Yes, we do have a home here on the radio with the Des Moines Media Group, so yes, we will have a high school game of the week coming up this season. Now, the station's changed a little bit. I'll bring our radio producer, Drew Rinehart, back in here. Drew can help us out a little bit on that front. So the biggest thing here on ESPN Des Moines, you have the Chicago Cubs broadcast.
Yep.
And a lot of those games happen on Friday evenings. As we get through the summer, not nearly as many day baseball games they have in the past. So that means that The airwaves are covered up here on ESPN Des Moines by the Cubs games. But the great news is you guys got a lot of stations here.
Yeah, we do. Like I said earlier, we broadcast iCubs on our Hope 940 station, and that also goes to our HD station, The Outlaw. So we have a lot of HD stations that can cover a lot of things for us when we don't have any other room to put them.
So we have a game of the week that we're going to be doing. I'm also going to be partnering up with our friends over at CISN TV with Pete Tarpey and that group over there. So coming up this year, our high school football schedule is going to look like this, as I can bring it back up here. Week number 1, as I scroll through, you got to go through the notes. That's always the problem when you're going through this, but this just jumped to mind. So week number 1 going to be out in Hawkeyes. It'll be the Battle of Purple, Johnston at Hawkeyes in week number 1. Week 2, Hawkeyes Northwest goes to Valley. Norwalk at Southeast Polk in week number 3. Back-to-back Valley games with Hawkeyes at Valley in week 4. Indianola at Valley in week number 5. Then we'll go out to Southeast Polk as Iowa City High will be bringing their squad to town. Southeast Polk and Hawkeyes Northwest in week 7. Week 8, Ankeny at Valley. And then week 9, Johnston at Roosevelt. So that's what we have on the docket. A game of the week. Some of the best and biggest games coming up. We'll hit a lot of the local teams here in Central Iowa. Looking forward to that. But back to high school football and Xavier Wampa. Calling his games and seeing him right away. And it was him and Caden Proctor. And you see this team, and it wasn't just those guys. I mean, those Southeast Polk teams were absolutely loaded. But there was a couple of plays that I saw from Xavier Wampa. I had never seen a guy at the high school level. And I've broadcasted now for 20 years. I've seen a lot of football at the high school level. The way that he converged on a ball in the air, I'd never seen anything like it. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, this kid's different. And yet at Iowa, it felt like we were always waiting. Mm-hmm. I was always waiting for that guy to show up, the guy that I saw at the high school level. And he had the accolades. And when you're having offers from Alabama and Ohio State, he could have gone anywhere he wanted in the country. He stayed home, but we always wanted more. Yep. And I don't know if it was the structure of the system. I don't know if it was just the way that he was asked to play, what it was, but he always did feel like a guy, even if he went undrafted like he would, that was going to have a chance, and he had a chance to stick. Yep. And it feels like he's getting that right now. And with Kansas City, we'll talk about that more with Mitch coming up here later in the week. Are you getting ready for football season, though? Are you ready to go?
I'm so excited. I've been playing the college football game, so I've just been getting ready for it.
So I have not yet bought the new game.
Oh, really?
Last night I was listening to, catching up on some podcasts and some things I wanted to listen to. So that's my end of night.
Yep.
Get my work done. A lot of times I'll do my Hawkeye podcast late at night. Then I'll flip on the sticks. Now I'm old. I'm 46.
Yep.
I guess I'm not quite the same, but I've already heard some new things about the new college football game that things are a little bit more difficult this year.
Oh, yeah. They brought in the NIL factor this year. So you really got to manage your money. Right now, I'm rebuilding FIU, Florida International.
Yep.
It's not going too well, let me tell you. I don't got the funds like you would at Alabama or anything. I think I'm sitting about 200 NIL, which I can buy maybe one guy with.
Oh, no. Oh, no. That sounds like a disaster.
Yeah. But we're on the come up right now.
Yeah.
Year 3, just about to start. So we're hoping for at least a bowl game.
You're digging deep. I love that.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
That voice you hear right now, that is Drew Rinehart. He's our radio producer here, and he'll be the second voice of the Lunch Rush here with Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports. Well, before we wrap up each and every day, we do our picks of the day presented by Circa Sports.
It's time for Trent's Picks of the Day, presented by Circa Sports. Trent is not a professional bettor or a tout, just a guy that loves betting sports every day, usually poorly. Here's Trent.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. Presented by Circa Sports. Download the Circa Sports app. And speaking of that, I have something big coming up for you, both new and returning customers to Circa. How about this? Right around the corner right now, an absolutely incredible deal that is happening, and it launches here today for an opportunity. America's turning 250 this year, and Circa Sports is celebrating by offering all users in the state of Iowa $250. Everyone in Iowa, all you have to do, deposit $250 on your Circa Sports app. Then play through that deposit. Once you do, Circa Sports will reward you with $250 right in your account. This is available for everyone in Iowa. That's right, new and existing users. Celebrate 250 years and find out more at circasports.com today. Must be 21 or older and in Iowa. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So there it is, an opportunity for you to get another $250. Just deposit $250. Well, I got a pretty light slate overall today. I have also, as I said earlier, kind of taken a little bit of a break from sports. Have not been quite as dug in deep because, well, I didn't have to talk about it on the radio. So I have not been involved quite as much. But yes, I am still firing away. So what we got coming up tonight, I'm going to grab the Nationals plus 140 on the money line on the road against the Phillies. Aaron Nola, who has just not been very good. I'm going to jump aboard with Alvarez in that one. Give me the Nationals. And then I also have 3 props for you here this evening. Number 1, Bubba Chandler for the Pirates tonight. We're going to go under 4.5 strikeouts for him, plus 135 at that number. Ian Seymour, also under in the strikeout category, under 4.5 for him at plus 133. And then in the WNBA, Ryan Howard over 16.5 points. Those are your picks of the day. The Nationals plus on the money line. Ryan Howard over 16.5 points. Bubba Chandler under 4.5. And Seymour under 4.5 strikeouts for both of them. That's where it is. My picks of the day presented by Circa Sports. And each and every day we will have those for you to wrap up the program. Well, as we wrap up program number 1 here on ESPN Des Moines, along with the Rush Radio Network, it's been great. A big thank you, of course, to you, Drew, for helping out and everything that you've been doing. John Streets and the whole crew here at Des Moines Media Group. They have been a great help. We started having conversations right away. Even before I knew I was suspended up the dial. We were already starting to have a few talks because didn't know exactly what things were going to look like. And then, of course, Ross Peterson, Travis Justice, and everybody involved with the Rush Radio Network and putting this all together. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a busy time and excited to get back to a little bit of normalcy, get back to what I love to do. I'm talking sports with you each and every day. And that's what we do 11 to 1 with the Lunch Rush with myself, Trent Condon, presented by Circa Sports. As we wrap things up, big thank you to everybody out there for joining us. Make sure you hit that preset on your radio dial and go to therushradio.com. Subscribe on YouTube as well to the Rush Radio Network. Out of time for today. Back with you tomorrow. Thanks for being with us right here on 102.1 ESPN Des Moines and the Rush Radio Network.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. Trent Condon here for Circa Sports. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
We are ready. We've waited for this one for a long time. The anticipation, the excitement, the intensity. The teams are on the field looking to build on last week's success.
Construction doesn't need a play-by-play call, but it does need a team. Like the team at Graphite Construction Group. From concept to planning to building completion, our team is with you every step of the way.
And the beam is up.
Mitch, this isn't a field goal.
You mean like it's a touchdown? Graphite Construction Group.
Graphite Construction Group. We build it better.
So, Russ, what do you do in the off-season?
Mitch, we don't have an off-season.
At the Chicken Coop, we're starting from scratch.
That's right. We're dropping some new recipes along with your favorites, and they're all made from scratch.
Boneless wings and chicken tenders made from scratch when you order.
Get your spice on with our new Nashville hot chicken sandwich.
Or our new buffalo chicken sandwich.
Both made from scratch.
Don't forget our wings, made with 12 different sauces that are, you guessed it, made from scratch.
The Chicken Coop has the best chicken and is made from scratch in our kitchen.
Stop in or order online today.
If you're thinking of incorporating or setting up an Iowa LLC, zoom right past LegalZoom and work with Rush Niggett, a Brick Gentry PC. He's set up an affordable online small business package that helps you decide whether to form a limited liability company LLC or a corporation. With Rush Niggett's help, it's easy to form your new small business. Rush Niggett, a business lawyer with Brick Gentry Law PC. Go to rushonbusiness.com. It's good to have Rush on your side. Do you remember the last walk-off homer to win the World Series? It's been a while, but the answer is 1993. Do you know when Wolf Roofing started roofing houses? That's right, 1993. Wolf Roofing has been around for a long time. For your next roofing project, put the experience of Wolf Roofing on your side. Find them on the web at wolfroofing.net or give them a call at 515-225-8866 or online wolfroofing.net.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kelsey Edwards with Fuller Associates Family Dentistry. I'd like to invite you to join our practice. If you're looking for a new dentist, we're accepting new patients. I'd love to create the smile you deserve in a judgment-free zone. We have 2 convenient locations to choose from in Des Moines and Altoona and offer extended evening hours. As a third-generation
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
Hey, everybody.
Can't get enough of the Rich Eisen Show? You're in luck. You can find us everywhere. Watch us weekdays on Disney Plus from noon to 3 Eastern. Miss the show? We've got a podcast so you can listen anytime. But here's the best part. Our YouTube channel. Subscribe at youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show and you'll never miss a moment. Now, on with the show.